I'll do that, but first I'd like to talk a little bit about our current Hearthstone metagame. We just got a Tempostorm report to come out, and it lists 6 decks in Tier 1. I will give you 7 decks to consider tonight. First being first, is a deck that we know very well so far. Already, this is Tom Carter's Egg Hunter from the report. Tom has been cooking. He's continued to try and refine the list. Since Mystery Egg got buffed to 4 mana, we no longer use Huhuran to create an overwhelming board presence. But that being said, I have found that the deck still plays decently into tempo. You're still making multiple lions, sometimes 3, 4, and that's showing, like, you know, if you've got a couple of 5 attack minions on board, you're causing, like, you know, 15, 20, 25 power in some instances. So what are you going to do with those extra copies of Lion? Well, something that you can do with those extra copies of Lion is wait until you get Bran, and then you wait until you get Cobalt Sand Trooper. And a lot of lists are running Naval Mine, but Sand Trooper, for all intents and purposes, does basically the same thing with very little damage lost. It also does not get pulled by Meat Wagon, which is why this version is not running Naval Mine, whereas Tom has chosen not to. Right? So we're using Meat Wagon to more consistently pull out Mystery Egg, which is the big complaint about this deck. But Bran, Cobalt Sand Trooper, Lion on a Sand Trooper, Lion on the Lion that has a Sand Trooper Death Rattle, Lion on that Lion, the battle cries start stacking for the Lion, and the damage starts growing and growing and growing. If you throw in a Feign Death on top of that, it gets a little goofy. Another little wrinkle that you can throw in this list is the Death Lord. The Death Lord can be used for an infinite mill combo. You simply have Bran. It's probably easiest to have the mini version of the egg down next. And then you're going to take, drop your Death Lord, put Lion on the mini egg, put Lion on the Death Lord. So now you've got 2 lions, 1 with the mini egg, 1 with the Death Lord. Start trading. Or Feign Death, do whatever you're going to do. The mini egg lion is going to make 2 free lions. The Death Lord lion is going to pull 2 minions. Keep trading, keep trading, keep trading. Continue that pattern of 1 lion that was printed goes on the Death Lord, 1 lion that's printed goes on the mini egg. Keep trading forever. Mill all your opponent's minions. I've done it once or twice. I have found the combo to be a little APM intensive. So it takes a couple of repetitions of getting used to it in order to get it down, but it is another alternate win condition. Especially in the mirror, it can be very effective. This deck loves, bird watching. It's running Explosive Trap for aggro and Pressure Plate for the annoying Dorian Druids. Both Charge and Togwaggle. Spell Damage Druid. I'm going to be running my version of Spell Damage Druid tonight. I cut one of the Lifebinder's gifts in a list that OTZ sent me earlier in the week. And put in a Concierge. Concierge makes your Seabreeze Chalices 0. You guys have seen that on this channel before. In the ETC, we have an Invitation Courier. This means that when you play a Seabreeze Chalice and it prints a new one, it's now going to print 2. The damage is ridiculous. I like that combo a lot, so I'm having it in my list, so that's what I'm going to play tonight. But this deck is pretty simple. It's a control deck. You can tempo out the magical dollhouses. You ramp up. You can use some spell damage and chalices or swipes for board control into aggro. You've got branching paths. You've got Sleep Under the Stars in order to armor up and stall out. Poison Seeds is nice, especially with combo druids running around. Floop's Gloop lets you do multiple plays in a turn. You get the idea. Gain a lot of armor. Get some spell damage, point face. I also have a video on this on my channel. I'll make sure I link that in the description when we're done so that you get to see some sample gameplay. Aggro Priest is Aggro Priest. I think the most interesting thing we've done with Aggro Priest is we're adding Hosen Roughhouser. If you haven't already done that, do that. Good card. Any pirate that sticks becomes a ramping threat. Looks good. Stats have looked good so far. That's I believe that's a Corbett special to add that. I did alter the pirate DH list that they listed on Tempostorm. I don't like Ziliax. I've decided I'm finally don't like Ziliax, and here's my take on Ziliax. If you play a Sigil of Skydiving and that's the only minions that you're going to produce, Ziliax still costs 4. South Sea Captain costs 3. So I think it's actually relevant to play the South Sea Captains over Ziliax. The other thing I cut from the Tempostorm list was the second quick pick. No one likes the second quick pick. I know the list they were featuring had 2 quick picks. You don't really need it. Everything else I agree with. I like the Field of Strifes. I think having the Field of Strifes makes the Ziliax cut a lot more palpable. And also I like that this persistent effect is always on the field. So they're shitty little tokens. You know, instead of dealing 4 damage, now they're going to, like, you know, you've got like 4 little 1/1s. Instead of dealing 4 damage, it's dealing 8. This deck has a lot of hidden Pyroblasts. And so it's nice that we have those built into the list. I am actually featuring 2 lists for Miracle Priest. The first one is the one I believe they featured in Tempostorm. This is kvlt's Horror Priest. Monkey Business was not in there. He did 2 Ts. Sorry, chat. Okay. 2 Nightshade Ts. Nightshade T is great into aggro. What's kind of weird and cool and fun about the build in this list, and I don't know if I talked about it too much. I do have a video playing it. Chillin' Vol'jin kind of breaks up the original build of the list. The original build of the list runs 3 minions. More than that gets a little goofy. There is the Sylvana Priest. I don't trust Sylvana Priest. I don't think it's nearly as consistent as just the pure combo versions, or even like Potion Priest. But you run 3 minions, so that a card like Creation Protocol is always going to grab Radiant Elemental, Handmaiden, or Grave Horror, depending on your situation and what you need. Typically, you need the Radiant Elemental early. If you have that, you can then pick Handmaiden, but sometimes you have the opportunity to juice up a Handmaiden and get some more draw and hopefully find your Radiant Elemental, so sometimes you want to pick that off of Protocol. It's a little bit tricky, but regardless, you're mulligan. You're looking for Protocol, and you're looking for Radiant Elemental. What adding Chillin' Vol'jin does is it lets you run Birdwatching. So now we are essentially running, at times, possibly, 6 copies of Radiant Elemental. Now, the thing about this list, Birdwatching and Protocol do fizzle more often, slightly. You got a 3/4 chance of finding what you want. You have a 3/4 chance of finding a Radiant Elemental or fighting the Handmaiden if you're looking for the Handmaiden. The nice thing is if you do miss, like getting either of these early, you can kind of fudge it along. It's usually okay. But you're very likely to find what you want. And here's what's also cool. What's also cool is Chillin' Vol'jin in and of himself is not a useless patches in this deck. He is a lethal weapon. You can make like a medium-sized, Radiant Elemental or a medium-sized Grave Horror with some of the buff spells, and then Chillin' Vol'jin will then transfer its stats onto another minion on the board that can attack. He's functionally Wind Fury. And getting copies of him off of Creation Protocol later in the game is not necessarily a bad thing. It's just more damage. I have found this version to be, on the whole, less consistent than normal Combo Priest, but the damage cap that it can deal is way higher. And, it's Combo Priest. I think it's a decent, side grade to the normal list. I personally prefer the list that I took to Legend. This is the list that I took to Legend. In the final slots in the list is the Wave Apathy Potion combo. But other than that, I'm running Bless over Inner Fire. I think either or is fine. I think I prefer Bless, to be honest. But I get why Inner Fire is in the other version. I don't think either's wrong. I think it's just a matter of what you prefer. Nightshade Teas, great for aggro. Discounts Horror Priests by a lot. Looks great. I am running 2 Synchronizes. The last list was running 1. Corbett runs 0 Synchronizes and runs Insights instead. I can't imagine why I'd want to run Insight over Synchronize. I think I prefer Synchronize because I like using Synchronize on Radiant Elemental early to not only buff up my Radiant Elemental, but also sort of protect myself and have an extra Radiant for a turn later. But I get why you might do Insight. You might do Insight just that like you're getting through your deck more, you're finding your minions more. All of these are kind of fringe choices. Regardless, the mulligan is pretty disciplined. Creation Protocol or Radiant Elemental. After that, you can start thinking about keeping Power Word Shields or Anduin's Gifts. I also sometimes keep Handmaiden on the coin because coin is another spell that you can use to zhuzh up the Handmaiden. This deck, muy bastado. That's probably what I'm going to end up climbing with next month, to be completely honest. Either of these, good lists in my opinion. And I know this is a good list. I call this one Corbettish Hostage Mage because I basically took Corbet's list and I changed. The two cards that I ended up changing was he was running Objections and a second Ancient Mysteries. I don't like having Objections in my deck. Not that repeating Objections is not powerful, especially in this meta, but I don't think you necessarily need them for the matchups that you need them. I also don't like dying because my Ancient Mysteries pulls Objection and not Ice Block. If you're only running one secret type, though, I don't think you need two Ancient Mysteries. So I cut an Ancient Mysteries, threw in a Messmaker, cut two Objections, put in two Sleepy Residents, call it a day. I would take this deck to battle any day in a heartbeat. This makes it a little bit more anti-aggro. We don't have to worry about combo too much because stuff like Charge Druid we can freeze infinitely with multiple Frost Novas or delay with multiple Solid Alibis and then freeze their shit with Sleet Slicator. You get the idea. This is a tier 1 deck right now. Yeah, my list's a little expensive because it's all gold and I got the SIGs and whatnot. But, you know, something that was mentioned in the report that I think is worth noting is that all three styles are represented in the top meta. You have a little bit of combo, you have a little bit of control, you have a little bit of aggro, keeping things honest, and that's a thing that should be celebrated right now. It's kind of cool. These I think are the top decks right now, but there's plenty of other stuff if you keep going down the line that's plenty playable, that's decent. I will say one of the things that they didn't mention in the report is Charge Druid being as popular as it is, I think is a little bit of a fly in the ointment. The deck is super polarized. I don't like playing against it. There are some decks that you queue that insta-lose to it. There's some decks that you queue and you insta-win against it. The aggro stuff dumpsters it. Hostage Mage dumpsters it. Combo Priest, you should get there, but sometimes they're faster than you. Egg Hunter has to tech a little bit in order to beat it. And it can't just ignore it. If I had like a wish list right now, that would be one thing I'd like to see either get less popular or get changed. I'm okay with either option. If people don't want to play Charge Druid anymore, I'm okay with it sticking around and being what it is. I just don't want it to be like a quarter of my games like it was when I post Legend. I just kept seeing it over and over and over again, and it's an obnoxious play pattern that I don't want to play against. But if it's somebody's favorite like meme deck, and it is kind of a meme deck, it's tier 3 in the report. I'm kind of okay with it. Of just sort of like rattling around is just this obnoxious thing you sometimes lose to in Wild. My tolerance for that is kind of high because people do kind of like the deck, and it is kind of funny to make multiple chargers that go bonk. They do mention in the report this deck probably needs to die in a fire. And yeah, I kind of agree with that. That'd be fine. It's time for Ice Block to be once per game, and maybe not. Anyway, if you enjoy this content, I'd appreciate a like, comment, or subscribe on YouTube. I do believe that these are again, basically 6 decks, but 7 different flavors of the best decks in the format. So if you want to play the good stuff and you want to climb to Legend, this is the good stuff. And hopefully I see you for the stream sometime.